He's been called the most dangerous man in the world, but how did Vladimir Putin rise from the shadows to become one of the most powerful leaders of the 21st century? This is the untold story of Russia's strongman, his past, his power, and the future that could shape the world. The origins of power. In the heart of Leningrad, a city still bearing the scars of war, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952. His childhood was forged in hardship, growing up in a cramped communal apartment, where the echoes of the past whispered through the walls. His father, a wounded veteran of World War II, and his mother, a survivor of the brutal siege of Leningrad, passed down an enduring legacy of resilience. Putin was not a remarkable student, nor a child of privilege. He was small and frequently bullied, forcing him to learn the art of defense early. Judo and Sambo became his weapons, disciplines that would later define his philosophy: control, precision, and knowing when to strike. Even as a child, he was captivated by the mystique of intelligence work. Inspired by Soviet spy stories, he marched into the KGB headquarters as a teenager, demanding to know how he could join. He was told that he needed a law degree, so he got one. The rise of a shadow figure. Putin's entry into the KGB was not the glamorous start he had envisioned. His superiors found him competent but unremarkable, and he was assigned to Dresden, East Germany, a sleepy outpost far from the high-stakes operations of Moscow or Washington. But it was there that Putin learned patience, observing the collapse of the Berlin Wall from the sidelines. When Soviet power crumbled in 1991, he burned documents, ensuring the secrets of his country would never fall into the hands of the West. Returning to Russia, he found his homeland in chaos, economic collapse, political turmoil, and a country on its knees. He pivoted from intelligence to politics, working under the ambitious mayor of St. Petersburg, Anatoly Sobchak. There, he honed his skills in political maneuvering, loyalty building, and behind-the-scenes deal-making. His quiet efficiency caught the attention of Boris Yeltsin, Russia's embattled president. Yeltsin saw in Putin not just a capable technocrat, but a man who would protect him. In 1999, Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned, leaving Putin as acting president. Few expected much from this former spy who once disappeared into the wallpaper. They were wrong. The reinvention of Russia as president, Putin moved swiftly, consolidating power with surgical precision. He reined in the oligarchs who had looted Russia in the 1990s, forcing many into exile or prison. Media mogul Boris Berezovsky fled to London, only to be found dead years later. Oil tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky was arrested and exiled to Siberia. The West watched in alarm as Putin dismantled the fragile democracy that had briefly flourished under Yeltsin. He controlled the press, sidelined opposition, and filled key government positions with former KGB loyalists. The Soviet Union was dead, but its shadow had returned. Economically, Russia surged. The country's vast oil and gas reserves became a geopolitical weapon. At first, Putin extended an olive branch to the West, but his patience with America's global dominance wore thin. He seethed over NATO's expansion, the revolutions in Ukraine and Georgia, and what he saw as the humiliation of Russia on the world stage. The collapse of the Soviet Union, he famously said, was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. The war on Ukraine then came February 24, 2022. Putin's invasion of Ukraine shocked the world. What he envisioned as a swift military campaign turned into a prolonged war, triggering global energy and food crises, and pushing Russia and its adversaries to the brink of nuclear conflict. But despite international sanctions, internal opposition, and a war that has strained his military, Putin remains unmoved. His routine, early morning swims in his Olympic-sized pool, a plate of kasha, buckwheat porridge, and hours of strategic briefings, has not changed. His ambition has not wavered either. Through constitutional maneuvering, Putin removed presidential term limits, potentially allowing him to remain in power until 2036. The enigma of a leader. What drives Vladimir Putin? Is he a nationalist determined to restore Russia's past glory? A master strategist countering Western hegemony? Or a man trapped by his own power, unable to step away without fearing his own downfall? Philip Short, in his meticulously researched biography Putin, His Life and Times, paints a complex portrait, one of a leader who is both strategic and dangerously flawed. From his rebellious school days to his calculated rule, Putin remains a paradox. He is direct, well-briefed, and action-oriented, yet also introverted, manipulative, and coldly pragmatic. And now, cornered internationally and facing domestic discontent, the world watches his next move with apprehension. As history has shown, when Vladimir Putin makes a move, the world feels the impact. Closing scene, a legacy in the making. Whether Putin is remembered as the man who restored Russia's might or as a leader who led his country into ruin remains to be seen. His journey, from a nondescript KGB agent to the most powerful and feared man in the world, is one of the most remarkable political ascents in modern history. For now, the Kremlin remains his fortress, and the world waits for the next chapter. Vladimir Putin's story is still being written. What will his next move be? Will he cement his legacy or lead Russia into decline? One thing is certain, the world is watching. Don't miss out on more deep dives into world leaders and history. Hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications to stay ahead of global events.